Yo, bonjour à tous, hello everyone. Welcome once again to IELTS with Messi. I hope you have had such a beautiful day. I am more than happy to be able to do another episode to share with you all. So, previously, we have learned about line graphs and bar charts. And this time, we're going to be analyzing a new type of illustration called a pie chart. Why pie chart? Well, first of all, it looks like a pie with the data displayed as segments or slices of that pie. Now, what's interesting is that the slices of the graph are proportional to the fraction of the whole in each category. In other words, each slice of the pie is relative to the size of that category in the group as a whole. Well, we could talk about this theoretically minutes upon minutes, but it would be a much better idea to examine an actual IELTS Task 1 academic module. Here's an example of a pie chart. Let's just go through it. The chart below shows the proportion of Facebook users by age in Australia in 2019. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So always in the first place, rather than jumping into the actual writing, you are to read the rubric, the task, and at the same time, you need to underline the keywords to be paraphrased and included in our introduction. Now, let's take a closer look at our pie chart, shall we? You see, it's just a single chart, not even two, so nothing tricky to worry about, alright? Just relax. No trends, no cross-comparison between charts. You just need to look for the largest, the smallest, and basically any slices that you could group together to, to provide a comprehensive picture of the illustration, you know? So, as long as you stick to the chart and pick the key information to report and compare, you're good to go. As you can see, our pie chart represents the proportion of Australian Facebook users by age group in 2019. The pie is neatly divided into slices, each of which corresponds to a particular age group. In fact, all of them color-coded. So far, so good. This is exactly what you are supposed to do in the first stage of your pre-writing, that is, the analysis of the task. It should take no more than 1 minute of your time. Now, we need to see how we can go about structuring our summary, but before that, please do remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on the notification so that you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes. Alright everyone, this is the way you need to organize your summary in 3 parts, namely an introduction, an overview, and 2 or 3 body paragraphs, depending on the number of main features. Can you also remember what not to include in your Task 1 summary? Oh yeah, conclusions, personal opinions, as well as inferences, all to be avoided. So I'm not going to go into detail as I've established all these before. Just make sure to watch the previous videos in order. Okay then, now we need to see how this actually works for writing up our pie chart. In order to provide your readers with a well-structured introductory sentence, you need to paraphrase the information in the task. As such, using the keywords we have previously identified, we can now write a sentence or two for our introduction. We have already learned that a good introduction includes the name of the illustration, what it shows, and the period of time. Alright, here's an example. The pie chart provides information about the percentage of people who used Facebook according to their age group in Australia in the year 2019. So, as you can see, I started with the name of the illustration, in this case, the pie chart. As a matter of fact, the only possible and conventional determiner to be used is the definite article the. Please avoid using other specifiers such as this, these, or below, as you will be writing the final draft of your summary on the answer sheet, not on the question paper. Then I paraphrased the verb phrase. Instead of shows, I wrote provides information about. What is more, the expressions the percentage of and people who used Facebook were used instead of the proportion of and Facebook users respectively. Here, using the relative pronoun who, I created a structurally complex sentence. Additionally, as I wanted to add more words and, in a sense, to paraphrase the expression by age, I wrote according to their age group. Well, I could have used other alternatives such as divided by age or in terms of age. But what is noteworthy is that using some referencing there, I avoided repetition. This has also made my introduction more cohesive and coherent. That's a minor point, but indeed, it's very effective. Finally, I paraphrased the time phrase. It's really not necessary to paraphrase the time period, but please make sure to include it in your introduction. So, how do you like it? It's terrific, I believe, don't you think so? Because our introduction gives the name of the illustration, states what it shows, and provides the period of time. If you feel you need more practice on how to write a well-structured introductory sentence and different paraphrasing techniques, please make sure to watch the very first episode. So that's all about our introduction. Now let's get to the second paragraph. As we have already discussed in a well-organized summary, our introduction is immediately followed by an overview, although it could also be placed at the end of the summary. Let us not forget that specific details are to be avoided in our overview. So let's take another look at our pie chart. While trying to come up with an appropriate overview, ask yourself, which age group has the largest share? Which age group has the smallest share? Can you organize the age groups in either ascending or descending order? In other words, do Australians tend to use Facebook more at older ages, or is it the other way around? As you can see, the youngest age group of Australians used Facebook as much as 43% of the whole, and numbers decreased toward older ages. So that's our only key feature worthy of pointing out, which would in turn shape the way we organize our body paragraphs. Now let's see how we can put our key point into an overview. Here's an example. Considering all of the demographics in 2019, it is noticeable that the older Australians were, the less likely they would be to use Facebook. You may have noticed that unlike other summaries so far, I did not start my overview with the popular cliché overall. In fact, the initiating phrase, considering all of the demographics in 2019, in this case, has the same meaning as overall. Had I added overall prior to it, I would have risked sounding redundant. So the expressions overall, in all in all, and in general are all equally good as long as they do not appear to be mechanical or redundant. In addition, you can use the definite article the together with a comparative adjective or adverb to show that one thing depends on another. Particularly, how likely Australians were to use Facebook depended on how old they were. Oh, one more thing. Please also remember to adhere to the parallel structure rule. Now that I mention it, I guess I will create a special video on that. For now, suffice it to say that everything should be similar in both clauses, particularly the tense. Alright. That's all about our overview. Now, let's move on to our body paragraphs. Following the overview, we are to provide details and specific information with regard to the chart. In order to follow a logical order, I will give information about the large segments in one paragraph and the small segments in a different paragraph. So here's my first body paragraph with its specific information. In this paragraph, I wanted to note that the youngest age groups contributed the most, and as such, they could be grouped considering their similar large magnitude. So I wrote, as far as the most significant feature of the chart is concerned, by far the largest category of Facebook users was the group age 13 to 25, which accounted for 43% of the total users. Then, using the conjunctive adverb moreover, I made an addition link between these two large sections. I wrote, moreover, Australians aged between 26 and 34 comprised a relatively high proportion of the population at 33%. Adding up the two numbers, I made sure a better picture is provided of the two segments together. Accordingly, I wrote, these two segments together made up approximately 3/4 of Australia's Facebook users in 2019. You may have noticed I used a variety of expressions to show what proportion of the chart is covered by each age group. So you can use the verbs account for, comprise, and make up to describe your pie chart. Of great importance is the way you provide numbers and figures. As a rule of thumb, exact numbers could be used with the preposition at. Well, of course, it really depends on the verb preceding the number. And if the number is not an exact one, you could make use of approximately, which basically means almost. Meanwhile, if you intend to make use of a fraction, please go for the ones whose calculations are straightforward, such as a half, or 2/3, or in this case, 3/4. As you can see, I use a cardinal number for the numerator and an ordinal number for the denominator. Alright then, let's move on to the second body paragraph. In this paragraph, we need to provide information concerning the small segments. A simple calculation of the segments left shows that about only 25% of the total users is covered by people aged 35 and over. This is definitely in contrast to the 3/4 of the largest segments. Accordingly, I wrote, by contrast, people in the other older age groups collectively made up slightly less than only 1/4 of the total users. Please notice that this time I started the paragraph with a topic sentence reflecting the central idea. I believe these two body paragraphs are logically and meaningfully connected. That's because, firstly, the cohesive device, by contrast, has helped to introduce a comparison. And secondly, the information presented in the final sentence of the first body paragraph and the supporting information given in the initial sentence of the second body paragraph are organized as a coherent whole. Following the topic sentence, I gave specific details. I wrote, according to the chart, 17 and 6% of Australians in ages ranging from 35 to 44 and 45 to 54 used Facebook in 2019 respectively, while even fewer people, only 1% in the oldest age group, 55 and over, used this social networking website. A good way to start your sentence would be according to the pie chart, but not as you can see or even as we can see. Such personal pronouns are to be avoided in our task 1. In order not to sound mundane and simple, I put everything together in a complex sentence. The subordinator while has assisted me in establishing such a connection. You may have also noticed that the coordinator and was effectively used to create compound phrases. What's more, the adverb respectively indicates that the percentages and age groups are linked in the same order as they have been written. Finally, in order to make sure that I'm not repeating the verb phrase used Facebook, I paraphrased it in terms of its utility. So that's all about it. I hereby appreciate your attention and support. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. Till next time, bye bye for now.